All right, let's get started. This is the 11th of August. We have a few updates for everyone. So, as some of you would know, crypto has seen a price correction in the last few days, about last 7, 8 days, 10 days. So, the article says the biggest sell-off since the 2022 implosion, mostly driven by contagion in traditional markets. It was primarily driven by retail investors, whereas even momentum traders contributed by exiting their long positions. All this happened because the Bank of Japan raised its benchmark interest rates last week, which led to the unwinding of the carry trade, a strategy in which traders borrow money with low interest, which I think was 0% in the case of Japanese yen. And that money was being sent halfway across the world to get invested in higher yielding assets. And then, as the Bank of Japan changed their interest rate to 0.25, all of this money now suddenly had a cost. And I know it's only 0.25% of a difference, but it's the difference between paying nothing and paying 0.25, right? Which is why a lot of these trades got unwinded, money got pulled out. As money got pulled out, market prices fell. Right? JP Morgan team notes that there are a few catalysts that could keep institutional investors optimistic on Bitcoin and crypto, including the fact that Morgan Stanley Wealth Advisors have started offering crypto to their clients, and FTX and Mt. Gox paybacks are probably coming to an end, and both the Democrats and the Republicans in the US have been talking about favorable crypto regulations. And this is the last interesting point, saying analysts currently estimate that the average production cost for mining Bitcoin is around $49,000 per Bitcoin, and any price action below this level would pressure the miners. So what happens is, if prices go below that, it becomes difficult for miners to mine profitably, and they would either continue staying in the mining space and keep selling Bitcoin as soon as it gets mined, or they would stop mining, which would lead to a fall in difficulty, which could again impact price in some way. Right. The other thing I want to talk was just calling out that this is the volatility that everyone should be aware of. Right, 28th of July, Sunday, 68,244 was the Bitcoin dollar price, and 8 days later, Monday, 5th of August, it was 53,995. Right, so in 8 days, Bitcoin dropped about 21%. Right, and the reason I bring this up is because this is the volatility that one needs to be comfortable with. If one is able to stay comfortable, then you can start using this volatility to your advantage. If not to your advantage, at least you can stop it from creating a disadvantage for you. But yeah, so far, this is the kind of volatility that Bitcoin continues to see. Another article, Michael Saylor, who's the exec chairman and co-founder of MicroStrategy, has revealed that beyond his company holdings, he personally owns at least about $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. He's also highlighting some recent developments. US Senator Cynthia Lumis has proposed legislation to create a US strategic Bitcoin reserve, which aims to accumulate up to 1 million Bitcoin over time, if enacted. Trump also, at the Bitcoin 2024 conference in Nashville, basically pledged not to sell the nation's seized Bitcoin, as well as talked about never selling a Bitcoin. Coming back closer to home, WazirX hack. This is an update from 1st of August, saying speaking to multiple potential partners. I've also spoken with members of the Bharat Web3 Association and working in various directions, and that need feedback and need time. This article, which came out on 5th, talked about how this hack for WazirX has prompted other players to roll out programs to secure customers' wallets and funds, which could be a separate kitty that they've just kept aside for a rainy day as compensatory funds, or looking at insurance as well. However, a lack of legislation has, on the crypto side, has prevented the industry, the insurance industry, from also stepping forward and providing any sort of underwriting, clear underwriting, consistent underwriting. Lack of growth in the insurance sector stems from regulatory uncertainty and absence of mandates that require exchanges to insure the assets. Just giving a similar analogy, if you look at traditional finance and you look at the fact that in the US, you have every bank account that is insured covered to about $250,000. And in India, that amount used to be 1 lakh rupees. Now it's up to 5 lakh rupees. But yes, those are mandates, those are expectations that the RBI and others have set, which is why banks have to do what they do to make sure that customer funds are insured at least till that amount. Today, there is no such regulation in place for crypto exchanges in India, which is why even if crypto exchanges want insurance, if they go to an insurance provider, those guys will probably not know how to price or how to underwrite the risk. And they wouldn't know because they are not being expected to do that, because there is no regulation that is actually mandating insurance companies to step in, right? Without clear guidelines, insurers are unsure how to price these risks. Globally, there are players who specialize in crypto insurance. Lloyd's provides a policy that protects cryptos that are in online wallets against thefts or digital heists. Interestingly, their liability insurance policy also has a dynamic limit, which means that if you insure it today for say $10,000, but the value of your crypto goes up to 15, then you are covered for that 15, because the limits will change based on the price of the underlying crypto assets. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Also covers protection against losses arising from the theft of cryptocurrency that are held in online hot wallets. So if that was in place, then everything that WazirX lost would have been covered by insurance. Another update from 5th of August. After the severe backlash from the community, WazirX has shelved its plans to socialize losses and is looking for a cash injection to fill the $230 million worth of assets that it lost. It's pursuing partnerships with a mix of Indian and foreign exchanges. Experts believe that WazirX as a platform continues to be a valuable asset, which will invite interest from foreign exchanges hoping to enter the India market. Before the hack, WazirX was definitely a prized asset. Interestingly, as they follow, as you all know, this is easy to follow on the blockchain. They are keeping a track of where those $230 million worth of assets are. Seems that almost more than 220 million out of the 230 have not been liquidated, and there is hope that these a majority of these assets will be recovered, which has happened in the case of YOLO Finance, Poly Network, and Wormhole. The reason why they are able to actually get these back from the hackers is because as long as you're in the blockchain and you're moving money around, it's fine. But if you want to use these funds to actually move back into fiat, you need some sort of off-ramp, right? And usually an off-ramp is any exchange which allows you to move your crypto in and then sell it on that exchange, and then take the proceeds in your fiat currency and take it out of the exchange through traditional banking channels. What ends up happening is as soon as something like this happens, and say WazirX has told all the crypto exchanges in the world that this has happened, they are all now aware of which these wallets are, what these funds are, and if any of those funds were to move into any of these exchanges, those exchanges will basically say, sorry, we're not going to let you transact because these cryptos are tainted by the fact that they were associated with this hack, right? So once all these off ramps stop becoming a real possibility, Then the hackers realize that what they're holding on to is just bits and bytes of digital code, which are not really worth anything because nobody's going to let you encash those for money. And at such points, they go back and then they renegotiate with the people that they hacked to say, we're happy to return this to you. Maybe we'll take 20%, 10%, some amount of those stolen proceeds. I think WazirX, as we know, is already willing to pay 10%. Maybe it'll go up if this ends up happening. Let's see. Opening a door for negotiations and likely return of funds after a particular ransom is paid. Right. 6th of August, WazirX updated that an FIR had been filed. They wanted to just clarify that immediately when the hack happened, they had filed a police complaint, then they've been following up, and then finally an FIR has been filed in Delhi. Update from 8th of August saying that finally the decision they've taken is we are constrained to restore the balances of all accounts and undo all trades carried out on the platform following the stoppage of withdrawals on 18th of July, 1 p.m. IST. So that is the time stamp where they have frozen everything. Any trades that have happened after will get undone. And then whatever was the snapshot for everyone on 1st of July, 1 p.m. IST on 18th of July is what they will restore everything to. This restoration will be carried out over the next few days. So interestingly, seems like they would have secured funding in some sense from somewhere, which is why they want to now make everyone whole and then go back to the way things were. Obviously, they'll need to have a plan around how they will earn back and pay off this $230 million that they would have needed to make everyone whole. So I think we'll get to hear more about that in the next few months. Right? Why are trades being made ineffective? It's being carried out to ensure that all users are equitably treated following the abnormality arising from the cyber attack on 18th of July. Right? Yeah. Couple of other articles. There's one talks about degrowth and ecological economics, which promote an end to fiat and inflationary currencies. Talks about how Bitcoin energy consumption is both trivial and not trivial. On one side, you could say it's less than 0.5% of the world's energy utilization, and nothing more than a rounding error. At the same time, that 0.5% is the equivalent of a small country. Talks about how degrowth is a social, political, and economic movement. It's a broad movement of people who advocate that the wealthiest countries reduce their overall energy consumption while allowing room for developing countries to raise theirs. Ecological economics provides a concrete foundation on how this would work through a convergence of degrowth and growth into an overall steady state. Calls steady state economy economics for a full world, one where the economy has grown so big that it's pushing its environment to its limits. Degrowth is more than steady state economics and energy use, though it promotes an end to fiat and inflationary and debt-based currencies. From an economics perspective, the origin of money is fundamentally a result of agricultural surplus. It's not debt, it's not the state. We know that energy is neither created nor destroyed, which means that physical laws place an ecological limit on our planet that ultimately sets an upper bound on agricultural surplus. From that economic standpoint, this means that money has a limit. And then it goes on to talk about how you're looking at the world and saying this is the peak output of the world, agriculture, and you look at Bitcoin and saying this is the peak number of Bitcoin that can ever exist, and basically imagining a world in which the entire world's GDP is mapped in a sense to the entire supply of Bitcoin, right? But anyway, it interestingly says Bitcoin adoption is highest in less developed countries where people are subject to hyperinflation and unstable and repressive monetary regimes. In a recent policy article, um, the authors pointed to a recent Coinmetrics study that showed that despite large institutions entering the space, Bitcoin is still very much a grassroots movement and has the best distribution of currency when compared to alternative currencies. So, fairly interesting article. I'll put a link in the description. And thought I'll wrap it up with a couple of articles by Vitalik. So, I came across this. There was, I believe, last year, an open sort of city that was created. I'll give you the details. The context is, what if tribes or cultures that have formed online with their own goals and values could materialize, what if they could materialize offline and then grow new physical places due to intention rather than chance. And these ideas have been around for a while. Ethereum is already one of those digital internet tribes. It already frequently materializes through regular conferences that happen in all parts of the world. However, Vitalik talks about reading Balaji's book on network states, where he writes, where he wrote about what CryptoCity might look like and has thought about issues of governance in the context of DAOs. Now, Zuzalu was an experiment that Vitalik and the others did to take these ideas to the next level. So, hacker houses, which can last for multiple months, usually only fit about 10-20 people. At the same time, you have conferences which can have thousands of people, but again, not more than a week. So the objective was with Zuzalu to do an experiment which is one step away in both directions. So you create something which is hundreds of people, and you do it for a period that is multiple weeks, right? So created a pop-up mini city that houses 200 people and lasts for 2 whole months. So yeah, the article talks about how the experience was. There were parts of Zuzalu that were centrally planned, which were available from the start. There were some meals, which were health, being balanced with lifestyle needs of practicality, being balanced by the budget of $15 per person per day. Right. They also created Zupass, an identity system based on zero knowledge proofs that you could use to prove that you were a resident without revealing which one. Similarly, as this community came together, some traditions started getting formed, taking daily morning cold plunges, independently cook in groups, have karaoke sessions, and have a meeting room where people could just permissionlessly book a time slot and make their own event, which ended up creating a lot of events. Over the long duration, it succeeded at creating a different mindset. A 4-day conference is a break from your life, but a 2-month stay is your life. It turned out that the small but highly focused network effect of a few hundred people who care about the precise thing you care about really can substitute the massive but much more unfocused network effects of the global megacities. So Zupass and talks about how some of these applications that they used in Zuzalu ended up improving. So Zupass, through real-time use and feedback, became noticeably improved, where it became much more usable than many multi-year-old blockchain applications. Right? Crypto payments were present but limited. No one considered governing Zuzalu with a DAO. It also succeeded being a highly international community. No single country was the source of more than 1/3 of the attendees. The top 2, unsurprisingly, were the US and China. Personally, I would love to see a day when we have enough people from India as well in some of these things. All right. And the article talks about how this movement can evolve. A lot of evidence shows that unless faced by a push factor as strong as a literal war of conquest taking over one's land, it is very rare for a demographically significant portion of a previously static population to pick up and move elsewhere. Even in Russia right now, less than 1% of the population has left the country even after they've started a war. Right? Also clear that large-scale emigration is still far from a grand solution to major geopolitical problems. Where do we go from here? Plenty of historical examples of intentionally created medium-sized and longer-term gatherings that don't overturn the world but still leave a worthy impact. Universities are one good precedent to think about. And at the end he says how Zuzalu is, according to him, he's predicting will become in part a structure that has some aspects that are universities, some that are monasteries, and some that are digital nomad hubs. So if you guys don't know, Vitalik is the founder of Ethereum. And to end this session, this is the last article. I'm not going to go through this. It is a long article, but this was something that Vitalik put out after Mark Anderson published his Techno Optimist Manifesto, arguing for a renewed enthusiasm about technology, to which Vitalik talked about his own feelings about techno optimism, and he said that it's not just the magnitude but also the direction in which technology moves that matters, and there are certain types of technology that are much more reliably will make the world better than other types of technology, right? So this is a very interesting article. As you go through this, you realize that Vitalik is somebody who thinks a lot about how the world works, and for him Ethereum is not necessarily limited to just being a cryptocurrency for monetary financial purposes. You realize that he is looking at Ethereum as a platform where we could learn as society, we could learn how to do things in a better way and solve problems that have not been historically solved within society. So interesting article. We'll put the link in the description, and that's it. Thank you so much for your time.